It's time for Physician Family Finances, the show where physician moms and dads like you can get the answers and encouragement you need to turn a good earned income into great life outcomes for tomorrow and today.
Hello, physician moms and dads. I'm Nate Reineke, certified financial planner and primary advisor.
And I'm Ben Utley, certified financial planner and the service team leader here at Physician Family. So Nate, it's spring, right? We got past Mother's Day, and sun is out, everything's warming up. But the funny thing is, this house I moved into, I guess about 6 months ago, it was built in the '80s, and we found out recently we have carpenter ants.
Ooh,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know
right.
the difference between a carpenter ant and a termite. I just figure that the carpenter ants carry around like a little saw, and the termites maybe carry around, oh, I don't know, term life insurance. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you. Yeah.
You
So,
got an ant guy or gal?
well, yes, I have an ant guy. His name is Adam.
Hmm.
Adam Ant. If you're from the '80s,
Yeah,
Adam Ant, right? Okay.
yeah.
So, like I am, I'm from the '80s, 50s, mid '50s, yeah. So, fortunately, we have this guy from a place called Good Earth, and I had him in our last house, and I was like, okay, we got ants. Brenda, just call the ant guy, and she's like, okay. So she got Adam. He was over here in 2 days. I mean, I don't know what they were eating, but we're clean people, right? And
Yeah.
they're attacking the shower for some reason. I don't know what's in the shower, right? It's not like we're
Yeah.
storing sugar in there. So there's all these ants, and it's new to us house, so we haven't kind of been through this before yet. But he comes out, smears some jelly around in some various spots. He assures me it's going to kill him. There's all these dead ants everywhere. But the moral of the story here is that I had somebody ready to go when there was a problem. I'd already had that relationship that I had carefully tended and nourished and watered over the last 5 or 10 years. Always just kind to them. Didn't really go beyond the Call of Duty. We didn't go beyond the Call of Duty as customers, but we're nice. We're nice
Hmm.
and respected their schedule and used them appropriately. So, and that I guess that kind of gets into one of our first listener questions about how to handle an old advisor.
Yeah. Before I read that question, I have a thought about this.
Okay.
Um, when you're, okay, I should say, when I was younger, I ran away from those sorts of relationships like the plague in the name
Uh-huh.
of money. I'm like,
Ah,
oh, I don't need that. I can do this. I can do that.
yeah.
I've found in the last 7, 8 years, I am actively looking for those relationships before I really need them.
Yeah. I call
And
it
that's not,
collecting good people. Yeah,
yes,
I collect good people.
yeah, you can't do that for everything, but nothing's worse than something happening in your life and you just having nobody to call. You're like,
Yeah,
now I'm a shopper and I'm desperate. You
yeah,
don't call people when you're desperate.
yeah.
So,
You need
interesting thought,
a
but
plumber, an auto mechanic, maybe an electrician, maybe definitely a pest termite dry rot kind of guy.
yeah.
Have a relationship with a fix-it person unless you're real handy. So yeah, I think and that goes without saying. Like a shrink, a doctor, all
Hmm.
those people, some kind of relationship with an attorney. I think that you need good people on your team, and if you treat them like a commodity, they're not going to be happy to hear from you. But if you treat them like friends and you take care of them, then they'll be there for you.
Yeah. My wife stays in touch with some of our kind of nannies or childcare people.
Yeah.
And they come, just because they left us doesn't mean that they didn't enjoy their time with us. They just went off to college or did something, and we got an army of people ready for date nights. It's great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so this does bring us to our first question. This is from an ENT in Florida. It says, I have accounts with a previous advisor. Do I have to get our last advisor involved, or can I just move the money?
Hmm. Get the old advisor involved or just move the money. Well, I guess there's like what you can do and how you could handle it is what I would
Hmm.
say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I taking this one or are you taking this one?
Well, you're taking this one, but the way I thought about it, have you ever you're probably too old to ever have been broken up
Ghosted.
with by text, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Uh,
I'm sure the 80s, you were still ghosted by phone.
I was married before iPhones came out. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
right.
texting and all that good stuff. Yeah. So, um, You know, so there's two things. One, three things actually. I've been on the getting side of this, where someone left us, right? That
Hmm.
happens. Um, I've been on the other side where we're receiving a client that's firing an advisor, but I've also been on the parenting side of this. So I have two daughters, and when they were starting to date, they were texting, of course. And one's like, I need to break up. I'm going to text him, blah, blah, blah. I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is this a texting relationship? Have you been texting this boy all along? No, I've seen him. We've gone out. I'm like, look, you've seen this guy face to face. You've kissed him. You need to go see that guy and let him know that you're out. Like face to
Hmm.
face, break it off. Because, when you have someone that you care about, this is how you treat human beings, whether you're going to continue with them or not. You should be upfront with them about the relationship. And if it's a safe place, which a business relationship is, it's okay to let them know what's not working for you, especially if during that relationship you said this is not working for you. Like in my daughter's case, it might be like, it's not okay for you to call me after 9 o'clock at night because I've got homework to do, right? It's not okay for you to not show up for a date. It's not
Hmm.
okay for you to blow me off for your buddies. Whatever it is, whatever your boundary is. I think people see advisors sometimes like a commodity where, oh, I can just turn them on and turn them off. You can with some advisors, but other advisors are looking for a relationship. The kind of people are going to have your back when the ants come, right?
Hmm.
And those people will treat you like a valued relationship if you treat them like a valued relationship. And so I think if you're breaking up with someone like that, the best way to go is just to sit them down, maybe over just a telephone, but give them an opportunity and say, during the course of our relationship, I saw you do this, this, and this. I felt this way about it and this way about it. Specifically, I don't like this and this, and that's why I'm leaving you.
Hmm.
Because if you just ghost this advisor, you stop taking telephone calls, you use an ACATS transfer to pull the money out of their care, which you can do without ever talking to them, then they're always going to wonder what they did wrong, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be like, did I charge too much? Did I fail to return phone calls? Did they go with a brother-in-law, right? Or what's going on? And then they're also going to wonder, what will happen next time a relationship comes. I think in the name of humanity, you want to let people know what happened so that they have an opportunity to improve.
Yeah. Yeah. The dating thing. It's an easy way out is it's not you, it's me sort of thing. But if you say it's not you, it's me, and this guy sold you whole life insurance or charged you 1% on your assets and it's just way too much money or never
Yeah,
called you back,
yeah,
they just aren't involved like you expected them to be.
yeah,
Maybe your philosophy on life is that not your problem anymore,
yeah.
but they probably have 100 other clients that are feeling the same thing, and maybe it
No,
only takes a few of these calls to.
the exception to this rule, I would say, is if you have an abusive relationship. This could be for any abusive relationship. Those kind of
Mhm.
relationships, you want to shut the door. It's not ghosting them, it's literally putting up a
Yeah.
wall. If you have an abusive advisor, somebody who's taken advantage of your trust, then you can use an ACAT transfer to move all of your money in kind without paying income taxes, right? Without triggering a taxable event, without paying capital gains. You can do that. If they pushed whole life, but they also have your disability insurance, you can request another agent to be the agent of record on that disability insurance. In fact, sometimes when clients come to us and they've been with an abusive agent, we have a place where we can park them, where they're not going to get pestered, but if they need service on their policy, then they have an agent. That's not us; it's just an alliance partner that we have. So,
Yeah.
if you're kind of trapped in an abusive advisor relationship, there is a place for you, and there is an appropriate way to get out of this without losing money, without having your accounts destroyed. It's honestly, it's a lot more straightforward. And like they said in Moneyball, this just happens all the time. People get sent
Hmm.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next question was from an internal medicine doc in Texas. He said, I have been playing around with covered call and put options in my free time.
I'm covering my I'm covering my
Yeah.
eyes. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'm still covering my eyes.
Yeah. As I get more involved with my finances. What do you think about that? Okay. So I got this question, and full disclosure. I had to pull this out of this person. I think they know our take
Yeah.
on alternative styles of investing.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm not even going to get into what covered calls and puts are,
Yeah.
right? But let me just say some things I've noticed about when people kind of go off the beaten path
Hmm.
with investing. Um, One is that I do understand the urge to do something unique.
Hmm.
It's exciting. It is exciting to try something new. Think that maybe you found something nobody else is doing. Um, and there is enough content out there on the internet. This person told me that they get this information off of YouTube.
Hmm.
Which, hey, we're on YouTube. Maybe there's some good guys out there, but it's just I understand the draw, okay?
Hmm.
But what I've noticed with physicians is sort of twofold. One, normally when you're doing these sorts of things, it's not with a meaningful amount of money.
Hmm.
So in this particular case, I think they're doing $1,000 or $1,000 a month, maybe, which is meaningful. But let's say you did really well with
Hmm.
your $1,000. It does not change your life positively or negatively. Actually, it could change it negatively. So you double your money fast. Okay, that the $1,000 you made doesn't change your life in a positive way.
Hmm.
Um, the negative side of this is if you double your money fast, you're probably going to be tempted to use more money,
Hmm.
and this is where people lose their shorts, as the great
Yeah.
Ben Utley would say.
Yeah. They lose their shorts.
So the question that I've always had is why? Why does this happen? Why do physicians get interested in this? And not even just physicians, but lots of people. Why do they get interested? And
Intelligent, highly paid professionals who
yes,
might not should know better.
yeah, and I think that this is a psychology thing. It comes down to complexity bias.
Hmm.
High IQ people, they tend to overcomplicate things, even if simple investing has great evidence behind it that it will do its job for you.
Hmm.
And so I think I did maybe talk poorly a little bit about calls and puts.
Hmm.
Um, he promptly corrected me that they were covered calls and covered puts.
Hmm.
But the the problem is the real issue here is that I don't think this is where your focus should be on, and you don't have a reason to be doing it.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, while that person's sitting there trading, what are their kids doing?
Yeah.
What's their spouse doing? Like, how's their health? How's their blood chemistry? How's their blood pressure? It I guess the thing that I don't like about it is basically playing with the money.
Hmm.
And I've seen that when people play with their money, particularly in public markets, which are terribly efficient, it's not good for them. And it's like I would be surprised if this guy stays with us. And he probably shouldn't stay with us. And here's why. Our focus here is to help people retire without regrets, not to retire rich. And in fact, I'm not so concerned about our clients retiring rich. I'm more concerned about them not dying poor. Right? That's the
Yes.
mission here, is to make sure that they are going to be okay with their finances. Not that they're going to have more money than anybody else, not that they're going to learn all kinds of stuff about what we do, if we even did those things. It is that they have a good ride, that they have a good life that they can look back on and be proud of it, that they get an invite to their kids' Thanksgiving dinner, and they have a strong relationship with their family and their friends. These are the things that actually make life worth living. Doubling down on your money because you're using options, and I understand that covered puts and calls, or
Hmm.
covered calls anyway, that's an income strategy. I get that. Um, I mean, geez, if you need income, uh, get some bonds.
Hmm.
Go get yourself a rental property or something like that. Do something that is not dependent on the whims of the public markets.
Yeah.
That's kind of my take on it. Is it's not that it's bad or ineffective. It's just a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it can be frustrating to hear us keep beating this drum of simplicity.
Hmm.
But the key is that the real difference that physicians have against anybody else that you're watching on YouTube or any other, middle class person is
Hmm.
you do have a fantastic income.
Hmm.
You get to have simplicity.
Hmm.
Someone who doesn't have two nickels to rub together, maybe they do need to go out and get a big, giant, leveraged portfolio of real estate. Maybe they have
Could
to
be.
take that amount of risk, but
Could
you
be.
don't.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess people could be frustrated by us beating the drum of simplicity, but by God, I love beating that drum, and
Yeah.
I live a really good lifestyle, and I've hewed to simplicity over the years, and it's worked out really well for me, and I want other people to have that.
Yeah.
That's why I won't put it down. So if people are frustrated by that, they can tune us out. That's everyone's option to unsubscribe or leave us, but we're gonna stay on the simplicity path.
Agreed. It's the path that works.
Yeah.
Okay, so listener Dr. Morgan, we
Hello,
promised we
Dr.
would answer your
Morgan.
question.
Yay,
Yes.
Dr. Morgan.
So here's the question that we answered by email, but we're going to get into a little bit here.
Yeah.
I currently contribute $1,000 to my current employer's healthcare FSA, which runs July through June. I will soon be changing jobs and begin a new job this July, and will plan to go with their high deductible health plan option so I can begin to max out the allowed HSA family contribution. I know I cannot contribute to both an FSA and HSA in the same calendar year, but is there an exception when there is a job change? If there's no exception, can I still open the HSA and allow my employer to put in their contribution for 2025 while I don't make a contribution until 2026? Okay, this is a nuanced question, and so I'm actually going to go straight to the detail, like technical details here.
We're getting down
Okay.
deep in the weeds. And listen, if you're not super clear on FSA versus HSA, I will bring you up for air after Nate is done with the technical stuff.
Yeah. So this is the most straightforward I could get. Correct, Morgan. You cannot contribute to an HSA while contributing to an FSA. Okay,
Or
so
while
that's
you
number
have an
one.
active flexible spending account.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
And that includes employer contributions.
Yep.
Okay, so you can't move to a new employer, have the employer making contributions while you have this active FSA.
Yeah. So the
So what you
FSA
need,
has got to be dead as a doornail before
yes,
anybody puts any money in your health savings account. You can open an
yes,
empty account and keep it around, but you can't contribute to it until that FSA is absolutely stomped dead.
yes. So that's the first step. You have to terminate the FSA. So if I were her to make this really clean, I'd try to spend that money and clean it out and terminate it. Okay. And then when you switch jobs, if it's completely terminated, which sometimes there's a grace period, there's a carryover, it has to be gone. The FSA has to be gone. So let's say we successfully terminated the FSA, you get your new HSA, you can start making contributions to the new HSA with some rules. So you can make the contribution when you're under the high deductible health plan. And the main rule is that, so this is halfway through 2025, right? You can make
Yep.
your contribution in 2025. That HSA, and you must be eligible for that HSA through 2026. There's
Okay,
a
so let me get
special
this straight.
rule.
So Morgan can contribute as soon as her FSA is stopped dead. She can contribute to a health savings account and make the full contribution before the end of this year. But in order to avoid penalties, she's got to keep that health savings account active all the way through the end of next year. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. All right, so let me
Yep.
let me back up the truck for just, can I go into FSA versus HSA?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so for those of you that are new to the FSA versus HSA, a flexible spending account is a program that your employer establishes, and there's two kinds. One is you can pay for healthcare, the other one you can pay for dependent care. Okay. We're talking about FSA for healthcare in this particular scenario. Don't worry, you can have a health savings account and a dependent care flexible spending account at the same time. So, anyway, flexible spending account is you can defer money into it. You don't pay any taxes on it. And then when you use it for qualified medical expenses, you can take money out of it without paying any taxes. So it's a complete workaround to taxes. However, if you put money into the flexible spending account and you don't use it, you lose it. Okay. So that puts the F in FSA. You don't want to fail to use all your flexible spending account. Health savings account, on the other hand, you can have through your employer, you can have it on your own. You must have a high deductible health plan in order to have an HSA. You don't have to have an HSA with an HDHP, but you have to have a high deductible health plan first. And you put the money in there, and we encourage you not to spend it because then it can grow, right? So H in HSA is for hold. You hold onto the money. H for HSA is happy because you'll be happy to have it when you get into retirement and you spend it on qualified medical expenses. So F is for fail. If you fail to spend your FSA, it's bad. H is for happy. If you don't spend your HSA, you'll be happy to have it later on. So that's the
Nice.
ultra basic version of this. Yeah.
And you touched on this. This is like low hanging fruit that I think a lot of people miss. Dependent care FSAs are awesome.
They really are.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you have childcare expenses and this isn't paying your, under the table childcare, like legitimate daycare
Yeah.
expenses, it's just free tax money. Filter it through that account, pay your daycare. It's $5,000 off the top of your taxes.
Yeah. And you can pay a nanny with this, but you have to report their
Yes,
earnings. You basically have to treat it like payroll because there has to be a tax ID that you identify with the flexible spending account for dependent care. So,
that's
can
right.
I tell you a quick and funny story?
Hmm.
So, I was in a call where we're reviewing a client's current accounts. This is in the planning process. It was early on, and we were literally just asking them to log into their accounts, share their screen, and show us what they got. And so we're digging around inside a Fidelity account, and we found a flexible spending account that the client forgot that they had. We were nearing the end of the period when it would expire, and there was like $5,000 in there. Maybe it was
Hmm.
four. I can't remember exactly. It was not a small amount of money, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that I had that." And I said, "Yeah, and if you don't use it, it's all going to go away." And they had some kind of procedure during that year that they paid for out of pocket. I can't remember what it was, but I said all you have to do is submit for reimbursement and document it, and you'll get that money back out, and you won't lose it. And so we just literally found a big old chunk of money just by looking in these accounts that they hadn't bothered to look at in a while. I don't know if they
Yeah,
lost it last year in prior years or not, but the money was sitting
yeah.
right there staring at us. Yeah,
That stuff's easy to lose because it's all attached to your benefits, and usually it's
yeah.
some
You
obscure
should do an
website.
annual investment review where you look deeply into all of your accounts and pay attention to
Yeah.
the jots and tittles. And by the way, Kyle is great at that. So,
Hmm. All right, last question. It's from a double doctor family in Florida.
mhm.
What accounts should we save into for retirement? And in the case of an emergency, how can we access that money?
Hmm,
And what are the penalties?
interesting. So I
It's
would
a
say
good question.
first, have an emergency fund that's not a retirement account. That's the first best option, right? Set some
Yeah.
money aside in a high yield savings account or CD or something like that. Yeah, that's first option.
Yeah. The way I kind of read this was what account should I use? And then it's doubling as an emergency fund. It's a little interesting the way it was written, but
Yeah.
um, the way I'm taking this is basically there are usually four options for accounts for physicians. Depending if you have some extra options at work, maybe this doesn't directly apply, but
Hmm.
HSAs, we just talked about those.
Hmm.
You do your backdoor Roth, so you have a Roth IRA,
Hmm.
and you have a 401k at work
Hmm.
and a taxable account.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the ways to save for retirement. So the order of operations for, I guess, what's easiest to get to if you had an emergency sort of goes like this. HSA, we're just agreeing amongst ourselves you're not going to spend that money.
Yeah.
You can always spend the money if you really wanted to
Yeah.
on health expenses.
So if
So
your if
that
your
is,
emergency's medical, health savings account is a good way to go.
yeah,
And if you
no
if somebody
penalties.
if your kids have a medical emergency, you can use your money for them as well.
That's right. That's
So
right. So
that's a good place to get it.
yes. And so you just avoid it if you can, but if you absolutely had to, you can use that.
Yeah.
Then we have your Roth IRA. So with Roths, you can always withdraw contributions out of your Roth IRA and take those out penalty and tax-free.
Yeah, we call that the basis. It's the money that is in there from conversions that you already paid taxes on, as well as contributions or yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Basis money. Yeah.
and those contributions come out first,
Yeah.
right? So with other accounts, a lot of times contribution, like let's say with the 529,
Hmm.
college savings, it'll be mixed up. You can't just take out contributions first, penalty free. You got to take out a little bit of gain, a little bit of contributions. It's not the case with Roths.
Yeah.
So, we don't talk about this a lot, Ben, because we don't want you taking money out of your Roth.
Yeah. But you know what?
But
I'll back when I was starting this business, I
mhm,
did this. I had a tiny Roth and I used it. I didn't I regarded it as my emergency fund. I didn't use it as my emergency fund, but it functioned as emergency fund for a while when I didn't have one.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you're just getting started, I would look at this as a way to not to make it so you actually start saving rather than being scared of emergencies. But you do
Yeah.
want an emergency fund because when an
Yeah.
emergency happens and you're 10 years into practice and you're like, well, I have my Roth. Well, that's not great. You can't put it back in. You want money in your Roth. So,
Yeah.
but it's a good starting point. After that would be a taxable account. That money,
Hmm.
again, there's no penalties to take money out of a taxable account. Um, you can just pull, you got to pay taxes. So you try to
Well,
avoid that with the
but
emergency
but
fund as
only
well.
only if there's gains, right?
That's right.
If there's losses, you can harvest those capital losses and carry them forward and use them against gains later on. And this year, there's been some losses. Anybody who started contributing in January probably has some losses on their hands now, and
Hmm.
those tax lots would be qualified for a tax-free withdrawal. In fact, they'd be a tax benefit on it. So,
Right. By
yeah,
the way, I want to make sure I was really clear. Just the basis on Roths. If you pull out the growth inside of a Roth, you will pay taxes and penalties unless you're
and that's
59 and a
ugly.
half.
And
Yeah,
you'll
and
have a
that's
hard
ugly.
time telling unless you've been filing your Form 8606, which is where you document the basis in your IRAs. So if you
Okay.
don't know what a
Yeah.
Form 8606 is, uh, you need to either get right with your TurboTax or talk to your CPA to make sure you have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what's left. Your accounts at work. So
Yeah.
your 401k, right?
Yep.
You can take a 401k loan.
Yep.
It's kind of last on the list here. You're
Or
getting
hardship
into,
withdrawal.
yeah, or hardship withdrawal. So, and a
Yeah.
lot of those depend on the size of the emergency. Sometimes, the hardship withdrawal rules with some of these accounts are kind of low, but you're just getting started. So I imagine your expenses are probably kind of low.
Oh, there's actually one more that I thought about. I don't think about cash value life insurance very much, but I know that some of our listeners have been sucked into buying cash value or VUL. It's
Hmm.
nasty, but maybe they're stuck with it. They could borrow against that, or they could, yeah, they could basically borrow against it and not repay it. But that's a place you could get cash as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the message here isn't to use these as emergency funds. The message is get started. There are a
Hmm.
lot of back doors with a lot of these accounts. Same
Yep.
goes with 529. Whenever someone's nervous to stuff a bunch of money into 529, once we've talked it through, it sure seems like there's a lot of ways to get the money out,
Yep.
if you really needed it. So there's ways to get your hands on a bunch of money. So start saving.
Awesome. All
That's
right.
it for today.
Okay. Well, so I'll just wrap us up. So we're the guys at Physician Family Financial Advisors. If you're interested in finding out if we're a match, just go to physicianfamily.com, click Get Started. You'll take a little quiz to see if maybe there's a match, and then we can chat. If that's not for you, feel free to send us the questions. Morgan, thanks for your question. You can email us at podcast@physicianfamily.com. And until next time, remember, you're not just making a living, you're making a life.
Are you ready to turn worries about taxes and investing into all the money you need for college and retirement? It's time to make a plan and get on track. To find out if we're a match, visit physicianfamily.com and click Get Started. Or you can ask a question of your own by emailing podcast@physicianfamily.com. See marketing disclosure at physicianfamily.com/disclosures.